little bit more. Maybe.
Well, too late for that. Hey everyone, how's it going? Mike here with Lily
And Ray.
and we just kind of wanted to give you guys an update. Haven't done anything on this YouTube channel in a while, and figured we can use a little bit of love, so we're here to give it just that. So lately, we've to give you the basic intro here. We Kickstarter is pretty much all the manufacturing and everything is wrapped up, so that's kind of a giant headache out of our way. Now there's still the logistics aspects and everything, of course, but that gives us some time to focus on things like this and gives us the ability to spend some time talking to you about what we've been doing, what's coming up. We've kind of talked in various places, No Dice, No Glory, Tales of the Sale, Blood and Pigment, a few other places like that. We've kind of talked about things that we're working on, some stuff that's coming, and we're just going to want to elaborate a little bit on some of that and just kind of have a conversation on what's going on here with everybody else who's mostly involved. Daniel, our sculptor, couldn't be here, unfortunately, but we got the rest of the crew here. So
we also have a lot of communities everywhere, and so not everyone is really on the same page. So we figured that a YouTube stream would be the best way to address a Firelock update. So
yeah, makes sense. So I think the one big thing that's going to touch on everything else we're going to go over is the fact that, and we've talked about it before, like I said, and some of you know about this already. And if you were at Historicon, you saw some previews, but we're in the process now of shifting to a thermocast plastic material instead of our usual metal for our miniatures. Metal costs have gone up pretty dramatically and affected us significantly in the last few years. So that being the case, we feel it's time to move on to something that's kind of a little more of a bit of a modern material. It's got a lot of advantages. We'll go over it probably in more detail in the video because there's a lot to it. But
it's very exciting.
It's really good quality. I mean, the detail comes out sharper. The miniatures are really resilient. They're not super bendy.
They paint well.
They paint really well. Yeah. So we're excited about it. And we'll give more details going on in the future, but that's hopefully something we'll start rolling out. Currently we're having another company kind of start to create some molds for us before we start doing it ourselves. We'll be able to do the molds ourselves and give us a lot of options. But for right now, as we wait on our equipment to get here and get all our training done and learn how to use it all, it's probably going to be toward the end of the year that we start releasing things readily and steadily with it, if we're lucky. But in the meantime, we're working with another company called Modeler, and they're starting to make some prototypes for us and do some different things. So you might see things start popping up here and there. You'll notice some of our metal SKUs are sold out, such as lanceros and things like that. So those in the in the thermocast plastics are coming soon.
We're still going to keep on doing metal as long as the mold still works and everything. So
some molds are already spent, but it's not worth it for us to invest it in new molds, unfortunately. At least not for right now. If the demand proves to be high enough, then yeah, anything is possible. But so moving on from that, let's talk about our big thing is Blood and Plunder, obviously. So Kickstarter is about to get here. We've got stuff. Once the Kickstarter gets here and everybody starts getting that, looking like late October, mid-November, somewhere in that time frame, realistically right now. Hopefully sooner, right? Knock on wood over here. But international logistics are what they are right now still. They're better than they were, but they're not great still. But that being said, we do have a lot of other things planned for Blood and Plunder as well as we go forward. So we have the infamous Joseph Forrester and Liam Taylor working on another Fire on the Frontier type expansion. This one's going to cover more in the vein of Raise the Black. It's going to go into more detail on some of the Anglo-American pirates and the guys kind of sailing out of places that weren't New Providence in the Bahamas, right? So the guys out of New England and New York and that whole region. It's going to touch on the coast of Africa a little bit. It's going to focus a little more on Portugal in the south and a few different things like that. So it's going to have it's going to be a light expansion, but it's going to be very character focused. It's going to have a merchant faction, so you have pirates fighting merchants for your more narrative driven games. Although we're trying to make it a balanced list as much as we can. But there's a lot of exciting stuff there. And speaking of Fire on the Frontier, we have currently a bunch of sculpts for that. such as I don't know how to pronounce it correctly, but basically the French infantry, the Milices de Frances de la Marine.
Yeah, that's a mouthful.
So we have those guys sculpted up ready. We've got some new commanders. So there's going to be, as soon as we get our new plastic system rolling, those are some of the new releases that are going to be coming out. So we're looking forward to doing more regular releases for Blood and Plunder, something we haven't been able to do very well in a while. We had the canoe just release, and we've got another ship which I've talked about a little bit. It's a bark-long. It's basically it's kind of like a more aggressive bark, but you can row it, so it's going to have some cool ability. It has some chasers out of the front, so you can get. If those of you who like to play more boarding aggressive lists will enjoy this ship very much. And that's in the next probably the next couple months. We should have that one ready to go. Just need some play testing and things, and we'll get that out there.
There was a lot of concern that Raise the Black was going to be kind of the end for Blood and Plunder because it's the end of the golden age of piracy,
Definitely
but
not.
that is far from the truth.
And everybody who's anybody who's played Blood and Plunder for more than a little bit kind of knows that Blood and Plunder is much more than just a pirate game. So pirates are the superstars, and they're the sexy aspect of everything we do. But there's a lot more to it than that. So lots more coming from that on that front. So the next thing is the next big thing, and this is the one probably a lot of people I know have been waiting for, is Oak and Iron stuff. So we've talked about it a bit. Oak and Iron just came out in the worst possible time it could have, unfortunately.
Yeah.
So as you know, Oak and Iron came out in mid 2020. Not a great time for anything to come out. And the last few years have been pretty rough on us because of that and other things that have come down the road on that, and kind of prevented us from doing much with Oak and Iron. The possibility just wasn't there. So again, with our new plastics, Oak and Iron ships is one of the things we can do. So we're not going to be able to do that ourselves in house, and be able to sell individual ships, which I know is a common request. So that's going to be a possibility now, not just a possibility, a definite thing that will happen. So one of the first things we're going to do is cast our existing ships and sell them individually. So that's coming. That's one of the first things we want to work on with our new plastics. So that's probably going to be, if we're lucky, we'll start to see some of that early this year. But on top of that, we've got a bunch of ships that we've sculpted. I think we have 7 right now. I always forget this number for some reason, but I should have written it down. It's around
6
7.
or 7,
7,
yeah.
9.
Something like that. Less than 10 and more than 5. So
Yeah.
we have much more design. So that's why I lose track. So, but a lot of stuff for that is coming. So we've got new ships, exciting new ships, especially if you play pirates or a rogue commander who doesn't have the ability to take ships of the line. You're going to have some options to stand up to ships of the line and be able to use them more efficiently in bigger games. So that's going to be exciting. Also, we have the rules update, which I just have not been able to play test as much as I'd hoped. So, but there's some tweaks. I posted that on the Oak and Iron Facebook group, but that'll probably end up coming out. I was hoping to get it out in the summer, but now with the Kickstarter looming over us, we'll probably have that out more towards the mid-fall, I think. So just make sure it all gets tested properly and executed the way it needs to be. But that's Oak and Iron. So moving on to some other fronts. We have our publishing that we've started with Blood and Valor. So I like to call the publishing arm of Firelock, where we just create rule sets that can be used for whatever existing miniatures collections you have or licensed like by Phalanx with the Blood and Valor stuff. So Blood and Steel is our latest one that just came out, and you guys have obviously all been enjoying that. We're getting a lot of high praise for that game, so good job to Edgar and Damien for that one. I know they're already hard at work on the forthcoming expansions, and we've had some conversations on how that's going to go. Nothing concrete enough to really give exactly what it's going to be, but I know that one of the things they're focused on right now, and I know they're doing research on and painting miniatures for, is the Franco-Prussian War. So that's definitely a thing that's going to get covered. And there's a possibility some of the existing lists in the book get covered more thoroughly. So the lists in that book are just kind of made to be some basic lists just to be able to get a sampling of the different armies and conflicts of that period. So with more in-depth stuff coming. Blood and Valor, the expansion for Blood and Valor is with the editor presently. In fact, the editor just wrapped it up and sent it back to us for correction. So that's going to go into layout and everything, and that should be out by the end of the year. Very delayed, but it's Rufus, the author of that, has been very busy, so he's not had the chance to work it as much as he hoped. But at least he's taking his time with it, and it's, from what I've seen so far, it's going to add a lot.
There is a lot in End of Empires.
If you have No Peace Beyond the Line, it's pretty much that kind of expansion. It's got a lot. It's adding just a ton to the game.
It's probably like double.
We're excited for it. Yeah,
double the army list and everything.
More than double.
More than double.
Yeah.
It's like 2 expansions basically.
I don't remember how many lists, but I want to say somewhere in the neighborhood of 30.
Yeah,
30 more lists. So
that's the one that covers the Russian Revolution, right?
Russian Revolution,
is
but as well as Japanese and
really?
Irish armies and everything. So there's going to be.
I didn't know about the
gonna be
Japanese and Irish.
Yeah, a lot of stuff is in there.
Wow. So
it's got a ton, including armored cars and more scenarios and different things like that. I think he added the multiplayer rules in there. I don't remember if he put those or if he wanted to put them separate as a PDF. I don't recall. But on with the publishing stuff, there are other projects coming down the pipeline on this. The next one that will probably roll out is Blood and Crowns, which is a 100 Years Wars skirmish game. It's based heavily on the Blood and Plunder system, and it includes the ship combat. So it's the first one that actually includes the ship combat of these. So that's pretty exciting. Being able to play your medieval cogs and different things like that. So that's going to be a lot of fun. The
medieval system in the Blood End
yes.
Series has been highly requested. So.
Yes. And it's Eric, who's been working on that, has done a tremendous job. He's been doing tons of research. I'm watching everything he's been doing. The pandemic times were hard on him. That was another game that should have been out already, but it's progressing nicely now. It's very close. I think he's honing in on it. I don't know if we'll get it out by the end of the year, but I would love to. It just depends on where it is. Obviously, we're not going to rush it. We're going to put it out when it's ready, but it is one that's exciting and worth looking forward to. On that same vein, one of Alex Aguilar, our esteemed partner and friend who is not here presently because he refuses to get on camera.
Yep.
He and I have been, and Lily, who's actually been, basically him and Lily in particular have been just very excited about Viking stuff lately. I've always been kind of a fan of that too. So a Dark Age supplement is kind of something that has birthed in the last few weeks. Not so much a supplement, but a standalone rule set, but again, based on Blood and Plunder. And again, we'll include the ships. And so it's kind of like the little brother of, or I guess, in time-wise, I guess, of Blood and Crowns, right? So it's earlier Blood and Crowns, more for the Viking Age and stuff like that. It's going to have a focus on Vikings, but it's going to be able to cover various. It's kind of like a toolbox. You kind of just create your own units in this one.
I mean, it has the Normans, right? In there.
You'll be able to do the Normans, the Anglo-Saxons, the Vikings, all that important stuff we got covered.
Still in very early development.
Yeah, we just kind of started. It's the idea just formulated, but since it's since there's a lot of work been done by Eric and the Blood and Thunder system in general, I think that's one that could develop pretty quickly. But it will see. Something worth talking about. So I just wanted to bring that up. A few other projects, none of which I want to talk about yet, just because we haven't confirmed or nailed anything down. But there's a few other people who are working on things that will hopefully give us something cool that we can talk about soon. But we'll see how that one goes. So, I see Eric is in here. He's getting here. So you can just ask the Just Dice League and chat all the questions you need about Blood and Crowns. So, and moving on to the next thing we have, of course, the very highly anticipated War Stories RPG. So our first RPG system, it's not really our system, we're using the Year Zero engine, but we're modifying it to our purposes. So this is Alex's brainchild. He was super excited and really surprised, and as we all were, that there's really no dedicated World War II RPG out there. So that is currently, Lily has been working hard on that nonstop. So the design work has all been done for a while. So now it's just a matter of editing back and forth, changing images in the books, and the final tweaks and little touches to make it a nice book.
There's been a lot of love in the rule book, especially how Lily designed everything and all that stuff. So
Yeah, especially the tables.
But yeah,
His nightmares on all the tables she had to edit and adjust to fit everywhere so it didn't flow over. But that's all done, thankfully. Now it's just nice, lots of pretty pictures and things like
It
that.
does have a lot of content.
Yeah, there's
Like
a lot of
the way you build your character specifically in this game is very thorough. At least compared to other games I've seen. Although I'm not an expert in RPGs, but
yes.
yeah.
Alex is the RPG player among us. Ray too, to a degree.
yeah.
I've played an RPG. War Stories that's like the third time I've ever played an RPG, and it was enjoyable.
Yeah,
I didn't
was
hate
fun.
it. I liked it.
It was fun. It was fun to play.
I like moving. I wish Gabe would have let me play with miniatures. I would have enjoyed it more, but that's okay. It's still fun. It's really good system. I love the simplicity of it. It's just so easy to pick up and play, and with your character sheet and everything there, it's very, very approachable and accessible. And I could see people just being able to pick it up and just go. Especially the quick start rules are available for free, so make sure you grab those on our website. You can just go to the download section or just search War Stories. You'll see the free download link for that there. So you can try the game out right now. So if you have a group and you're into role playing and interested in Second World War, it's definitely a really cool thing to check out.
Even if you aren't into even if you aren't into RPGs, I think you should just check out how Lily designed the quick start guide and everything like that. How it's formulated like a newspaper and everything.
That was the most fun I've ever had doing a layout for anything on Firelock. Even though I like designing for Blood and Plunder, but I mean this was like really cool for me.
Yeah, there was a lot of love put into it and everything. So it's going to be free even after the release of War Stories, just so any player can pick up on it very easily. So
so that's exciting. And then right on the heels of that, we've already got Tim Korklowski, our good friend, has the Blood and Plunder equivalent of that. He has Under the Black Sail. I keep almost saying the name wrong 1,000 times. So Under the Black Sail is the Blood and Plunder universe themed RPG for all of your historical pirate RPG gaming needs. There's lots of options for really high fantasy pirate stuff out there, but there's nothing that's kind of more real world setting. This still works for something like if you wanted to use a Pirates of the Caribbean type setting or something like that.
Adventure.
Yeah, because that kind of all works on real world stuff, and it would be very easy. And I believe Tim plans a light fantasy setting that you could add into that. But in its core and on its base, it's a historical RPG, which is something that there's not a lot of out there. So War Stories is obviously what we're doing in this. So this is it's kind of cool and exciting. I played that one with Tim, and obviously that suits more my interests, and I really enjoyed it. He's a good GM, which helps. So it puts me into the world. I since I understand that world a lot more, I was able to visualize it all, and I had a lot of fun. So I'm excited for that to come out, and that's getting ready to go to the editor. Tim has already done all the main work, so now it's ready for that, and then Lily's going to set it up. That's probably going to come out early next year, I would guess. RPGs tend to take a lot more work to put together book-wise, so I don't want to rush it, and I want to make sure it looks really nice, just like she's done with War Stories, which looks great, and it's probably one of our nicest looking books so far. So I want to make sure we give it the same treatment and get it done correctly. So that's going to be a lot of fun. So moving on from there, we can talk about some of the future stuff that we've been developing on the little free time we've had. So one big thing is Frontiers. Frontiers is something that I talked about ages ago, and then 2020 came and just shut that all down. That kind of just went into a development corner and got locked away. And recently it's been kind of brought back up, and the system itself is in a very good place. We're really happy with where it stands. It's you could play, 4 to 10 miniatures more or less and get a really interesting, really exciting, action-packed kind of mini skirmish game. You can play on anything as small as a 2-foot by 2-foot table. It still maintains the sea combat if you wanted it. It's not really obviously the same level of Blood and Plunder. You're not going to be rolling around in frigates with your crew of 6 or 7, but But smaller ships like the sloops and longboats and piraguas and stuff like that, and the barks, they all kind of come into play and are usable. It's great for like North American stuff, for like fighting on rivers and all kinds of really cool things like that. It's perfect if you want to do like a narrative setting of like fur traders, or even if you've read any pirate history, especially in Buccaneer period, lots of guys who would get they'd go on a raid and they'd come back and their ships are gone, of course, because the Spanish patrol found them and they had to flee, or they got captured or anything like that. So they'll often have to send small groups out to forage or to find other ships or something like that in a canoe that they stole or found somewhere. So those kind of exploits of small groups going around foraging, exploring, and it's all going to be campaign driven. So you build your war band, you play games, you discover things, and there's a lot to it. Nate, our infamous Nate Zettel, has designed the campaign system for that, and it's coming along really nicely. And on this one, I'm going to put a question out to the community. So the system itself is functional. The great thing about it is that it uses the existing stats from every mini and every unit that exists in Blood and Plunder already. It doesn't have separate commanders like Blood and Plunder does, that you just kind of upgrade your units in your force to be your leaders based on the small scale nature of it. So if you have, Buccaneers, for example, are the same, they function the same in this game as they do in Blood and Plunder, despite the fact that the mechanics are quite different between the two games. So we were thinking of putting this game out and trying something a little different, and to help kind of fund the development of it and keep it going and gauging the interest. We were thinking about putting the PDF out for sale, just basically with a beta version, and then letting people give us input and testing, especially for the campaign and stuff like that. If you've ever played certain campaign-driven games by a certain large company, you know that they can sometimes get really disbalanced really quickly. So that's one thing we'd like to test a lot and make sure it's balanced and fun, and one person doesn't run away with the whole thing if you're playing in a group. So if that sounds like something that would interest you, let us know. That might be something we do, and that could be, and if we did something like that, that would be, in the next month or two, something we could get out probably. So,
and of course, the if you do opt in for the beta and stuff like that, you will get the PDF completely free once it does fully come out. So you would just be basically a tester for the game, just to see if all the mechanics work, if maybe you have an input for it or anything like that. So
yeah, so it's cool that since it uses the same units and the same stats, there's not a lot of, the only thing that changes, the special rules unit has are the same, but their effects in the game will be slightly different. It has the same general, obviously it's trying to accomplish the same goal. So the rule, if you know what it does, it gives you, it's pretty intuitive. So that being said, you can use your existing units. The rules are there. We'll throw it out and see how it goes. So if there's a lot of interest in that, we might try it out. But it's been a ton of fun. We've all really enjoyed playing it. And the system for it, the mechanics for it we're going to use those for a variety of things, including some not so historical things that we've been fiddling around with, some world building we've been doing here on our for fun to try to do something a little different. Unfortunately, not everybody around here is as excited for historical gaming as I am. So, we've allowed them to dip their feet in some more fantastic things. So, some of that is going to be, that system is kind of working for both things. So we're kind of developing them side by side. So that's going to be fun and interesting stuff. So.
All right.
With that said, is there anything?
I'm just reading the comments, so.
So am I. Sort of. I'm perusing.
Yeah.
All right. You wanna take some questions? Is there anything else you wanna?
Yes, I know. Blood and Pigment. Blood and Pigment knows what's up. Not historical heresy. I agree. Although I do have a soft spot for fantasy stuff, I have to say. So, mentioned Gabe Garcia. All right, I did. I mentioned Gabe earlier. Oh yeah, that's another thing. Speaking of Gabe Garcia, well, there is another future developing game that I almost forgot about because I haven't played it in so long.
Oh boy!
But another technically not historical game.
What's
because
the name?
it predates history.
Oh my god! Oh.
So that's
Blood and Stone.
We have no name for it.
We don't have it yet. There's been a lot of names for it. for this game.
But that's the same Gabe Garcia who's working on War Stories has a fun little skirmish game set in a very distant past, and it's a really cool thing that'll probably be that's one he's got it pretty much done already. He's had it done for years, but again, unfortunately he was wrapping up his development in 2019, so again, bad timing. But it's kind of now that War Stories is done and getting ready to go out, we're going to be able to look at that one again.
I mean, War Stories is a beast.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like after he's done with War Stories, like this other game is going to be a walk in the park for him. I think maybe.
Don't call our players animals, please, Alex. All right, so I think that said, we could take some questions.
Yeah. So
unless anybody else has anything they would like to talk about,
no,
something I forgot.
I don't know. I mean,
we actually had someone ask Tyler in the Discord asked about Frontiers like yesterday, 2 days ago. So I find it kind of a coincidence that we are talking about that now, since that is a little bit of a forgotten thing that we had said like years ago.
What was that again? Sorry, I was trying to.
It's all right. It's okay.
I'm trying to talk. I'm trying to make fun of Joseph Forster, but it's not letting me.
You can talk to the camera right there.
I guess.
Yeah. Someone's asking if after the Lombard, is there any other ship?
Yes, many ships. In fact, so we have lots of plans to make lots of ships. Unfortunately, the limiting factor is our sculptor's tradition on our ships. He's just doesn't have the time he used to have to work on them. So I'm trying to get him to do more. The ships that have been coming out lately have been done sculpted digitally by our other sculptor Daniel Arias. So that's been slowing us down on doing more ships. But hopefully our other ship sculptor, if he's out there watching and listening, maybe could be encouraged by that question. Hopefully he can start doing more because we have lots and lots of ships we want to do. There's so many ships that we could do. We can make a ship every week if we want to. Have plenty to do. So.
I have another question. Will the Blood and Crowns be a Kickstarter launch or like some Blood and Plunder stuff has been?
No, Blood and Crowns will be it'll be exactly the same as Blood and Valor and Blood and Steel. So it's going to be launched that way. It'll do a pre-order for it, and once it's ready to go to print, we do a pre-order, and then we order the books, and we'll go.
I'm just reading a Tyler Stone comment. Blood and Birds. Everyone plays us a dwarf. Blood and Time Travel. When?
Never.
I love it.
That's pretty good.
That would be interesting.
Blood and Time Travel, you just tie in all the games we already have. They kind of all work together.
That's like a multiverse.
We already do time travel.
Yeah, we're doing a Marvel.
We do a lot of time travel.
I time travel every day. That's the best part of this job.
Bark of the Line is already out.
Firelock Cinematic Universe.
Yeah, although we should do something in the future. We've traveled to the past. Wink, wink.
That's a sail. Actually, it's not a flag.
Alex, wink, wink.
You can't see the bottom. But
someone asked, how was Historicon? Josh Shivak.
Historicon was a lot of fun. It was a great show. I want to point out how poorly Miguel Vega did in every tournament he played. And unfortunately, Joseph Forster won his tournament, I think, one of his tournaments. So, but he lost two, so that's good. So it was a great time. I'm always excited and encouraged by the turnout we always get in our events there, and getting to meet with all you guys and interact with you individually and getting your concerns and feedback. So, which we did. So somebody suggested why we didn't put our Kickstarter updates on our Facebook page, which I just never thought of. But yeah, that makes sense because especially since a lot of people late pledged and then back on the Kickstarter, so we started doing that. So that suggestion came from Kickstarter. So thanks for who told me that. Where I already forgot your name, but I appreciate your feedback.
Velour says, "How about Blood and Fantasy?"
That is that's something we have been discussing about. We
don't want to give the name. But that is,
we won't.
We may have hinted at that already if you just rewind.
We don't want to add that as an expansion to Blood and Plunder, but hey, Blood and Fantasy.
Good question from the Epic Plunder Den. Terrain coming out. So Terrain has been hard one for us. Terrain is kind of difficult to do and to make affordable. So we want to. We don't have any plans right now, but it is something that we are constantly investigating. There is a chance we have been talking with Foreground, and there is a chance that we can continue the line of Ports of Plunder. We're just trying to that they make, and they can potentially continue to make it for us. The guy that's those. If you have any of the Ports of Plunder stuff, I mean that stuff was just awesome. So if I'm hoping we're able to continue it with them, but we'll see. Those talks are ongoing, and we're trying to make it work. So
Alex has to talk more about Blood and Plunder Fantasy.
Well,
you go, Ray.
Ray. So that's a good thing to talk with Ray about, because Ray is doing a lot of the world building for that. A lot of the stuff we're coming up with comes from that, but I don't know how much we want to give away. We don't want to spoil all the surprises.
Yeah, this is. I feel like we want to have that as its own announcement type of thing.
Yeah.
But if you have any questions about it, you could ask them. And we'll answer you, and might lie. But
yeah,
let's just say that in order for me to do better maps, I created a map builder, and this game was basically the world building of this game was basically what inspired me to actually create that.
Lily made a beautiful map, but we can't share it yet because we're not gonna. When we launch the game,
it's not done.
You won't see the whole
Lily
map.
created an entire map maker, an entire one, just for
Let's see what you.
Well, let me. I can.
So our fantasy game won't be a rank and file game. It'll be a skirmish game. So again, it's going to use the same engine as the Frontier system. That said, we do have a rank and file system for smaller scale gaming that we have been working on with the new equipment we're getting. One of the things we want to do is a box game that's basically just kind of focuses on the exploits of the Buccaneers of the 17th century in some of their larger battles, right? So things like Panama, for example, that you could never possibly even come close to in Blood and Plunder on a 1-to-1 scale. So do a more abstract game where just kind of multi-based units in 15 millimeter, more than likely, where you'll be playing a lot of those campaigns out on a smaller scale. So, or I guess larger scale with smaller scale figures is a better way to say that. And that system as well will be potentially ported over to different things. So,
one thing I do want to say about the fantasy game, since there's a lot of talk about it now, is with the new thermoplastics that we're getting, we feel that we're going to be able to support the game a lot and actually have a lot of unique custom models that are not seen in other fantasy games. To separate it and just to stand out and everything.
It'll be very Firelock. We'll put it that way. So
very Firelock. We do something.
Somebody's
really
asking about a Vietnam expansion for Blood and Valor, and it's funny because Rufus and Kai, who did Blood and Valor, have been talking about using the same skirmish mechanics that I was just talking about for Blood and Plunder Frontiers, as well as the fantasy supplement or game, not supplement, separate game, using that same system for skirmishes in Vietnam. So that is a potential thing. That's one of those things I just touched on earlier that is kind of in the wings, but I don't want to get into it yet because they've talked about it. They're excited for it. They bought some miniatures, but summer's coming. Actually, summer's ending, so winter's coming. So then, I was gonna say they spent a lot of time. They spent a lot of time in their pool. So, which was where I was going with that. They spent a lot of time in their pool. So now they're out of their pools and they're hanging out inside because it'll get too cold. Then yeah, they might actually work on it. We'll see.
So Glenn Van Meter says, "How about an Eastern Front expansion for Blood and Valor?"
Yeah,
that's already that's in the next expansion.
And then Empires will completely cover that.
Yeah,
so
fully, all over the East, Middle East, east side of Africa, east side of Asia, all of it. So Europe, all that.
And Billy also is asking, will you manufacture miniatures for Blood and Crown?
Probably not, but I'm not going to say no. But we have this new equipment coming. We're gonna, with this new manufacturing technique and everything going on, it's possible. I mean, if we get good at it, if we can turn around quickly and figure it out, and it doesn't distract us from the games that we support with full lines of miniatures like Blood and Plunder and Open Iron, then yes, there's a possibility we could touch on it. But I don't want to commit to that just yet. But it's probably no, but maybe.
Yeah. Are you Viluit also is asking, are you planning some Second World War
miniatures game? We've talked about it a little bit, but not right now. I feel like there's a one or two systems out there already.
Very popular.
We try to hit more on things that are less common, or that we are just playing at the time and can't really find something that fits right for what we want. So that's typically what drives our development. None of us at World War II is obviously something we're covering in War Stories, so it would be that does open it more of a possibility. But as of right now, it's not something we've really done any work on or thought about very much. Although it is possible, if somebody gets inspired, if you have a cool idea for a World War II system and want to write it up based on any of our rule systems or not, or something totally different, feel free to submit it. We do publish people's works, as you've seen, as we've talked about earlier.
If you have anything related to medieval Asia, like Japan, Korea, China, give us that.
Oh, that's actually another one that we do have waiting in the wings. Another Tim Kurklowski project, but as you've probably gathered from this discussion, we have a lot of things that we can discuss. So, and the real bottleneck, since most of these games are being written by people outside of our place here, our bottleneck is our graphic design. So she can only design so fast. So we can't make as many books as we'd like until we figure out how to clone her. So,
Wheeler has another question. This will be the last question. He says, how about expansion for Blood and Plunder covering the age of conquistadors and the Aztecs?
Absolutely. Yeah, that's coming. It's a matter of time. But we for Blood and Plunder itself, the plan is to get through the American Revolution going forward in time, and then from there kind of explore what we do, and we may go back to conquistadors. We might start covering different regions more thoroughly. So we have to kind of wait and see, but we will touch on it eventually.
It would be really cool to see the Battle of Tenochtitlan or something like that.
Yeah.
I don't know.
That's more maybe for a smaller scale game. But.
Really?
Well, I don't know. Yeah, I guess not, because there's like 10 Spaniards there, so I guess like 100,000.
But there were more Aztecs.
But yeah, so obsidian bonk sword. That's basically. Supposedly can cut you in half. So say conquistadors. But they're probably just trying to make themselves sound good.
Any chance for official rules for converting your pirate RPG character into a commander for Blood and Plunder, or taking your RPG pirate crew into a Blood and Plunder faction?
That's a really good idea.
Actually. I mean, you can do that
right
now, right?
I believe Tim talked about that. Tim is in this chat, so he can tell you. I don't know if that made it into the main book or if that was for the expansion he wants to do, but I do know that will be a possibility to some degree. Yeah, expansion. Okay, so that is something that will be available to do. It may even be. I mean, if that's popular enough, maybe I can try to coerce Tim into making it a PDF thing that we could add afterwards. But yeah, not a bad.
Oh, that's
not a bad thing.
There's a lot of different areas in Blood and Plunder. It's set in that same time area.
Yeah.
Indonesia, Korea, Japan.
Yeah, we were talking about that the other day, because I'm always asking Mike, what else can we do for Blood and Plunder, and especially Mediterranean and Asia and all that. Mm-hmm. And then he has so many ideas, and there are so many. I mean, it's the entire world. Pirates existed throughout, time, in every shape or form. So yeah, definitely, there's a lot more.
So Two things back to back here. So first is Tyler's. I'll do his because it's easy. Any cross that basically says same question rollover. The RPG, Frontiers, and Blood and Plunder. Yes, because anything because of the way Frontiers is designed, anything you're doing to kind of port over from the RPG to Blood and Plunder will work in Frontiers just fine. So when Tim does that expansion, it'll work. So over to Dexter on the Plunder Den, is it possible to get customizable versions of the original Blood and Plunder models? Maybe a starter box of original models fully customizable. It's possible. We've talked about that, so it's possible that we may revisit some of the more. Well, before I even say that, it's possible we do more plastics in hard plastic. So once these come out, we'll see how they do. I have a feeling they're going to do incredibly well, and we're going to be doing more. But maybe people will like the new plastic more. I don't know. We'll see. So but to address that, because of the customizability between the kits and even within the individual kits, you can make all of the original units out of those boxes. So any unit that existed in No Peace Beyond the Line, you can do it from what's in the plastic boxes.
So
it's just different using the correct hat options, the correct musket options that are in there, and the different weapons. Like there's a lot of, especially in the sailor sprue, there's a lot of loose weapons. So like cutlasses and axes and blunderbusses and pistols, and it's just a matter of, you get one of those models with a musket and you glue a couple pistols to him, and he's a filibustier now, right? So it's already doable with the sets we have. It's not the same sculpts, but there's a good chance some of those sculpts are already starting to show a little bit of age, I think. So I think there's a good chance we go back and start touching some of those up as we move into the new material.
Yeah.
As well as make new versions and variations of them, which is part of our plans for that.
Dan Carlson had said ships on wheels, blood and death race, and I have to say that
reminds like a Mad Max kind of thing.
Well, it actually reminds me of more like those like early 2000 monster truck commercials.
There's nothing to stop you from putting wheels on your ships right now. I'm just gonna say that.
It's just like those monster truck derbies, giant ships.
Can you make the female buccaneer?
That is actually a request we've gotten a lot.
All right, fair point. You can't make that one. I mean, you can, I guess, if you will. A lot of modification, a lot of green stuff sculpting. But
we have gotten a lot of Mad Mike. We've gotten a lot of requests for the female disguised sailor model to come back, and unfortunately, I don't think we could, but we definitely want to.
But in the new material, there will be new ones.
Yeah, we definitely want to do.
And we have Anne Bonny and Mary Reed coming in the plastic set of the Pirates of Legend box, so you've got those options as well. But the Bucaniere and them pretty much cover the gamut of, aside from the disguised female sailor, which we'll probably do a separate sculpt of and just do a different model for that, kind of probably as a character. Because the original idea is that sculpt was supposed to be the son of Neptune, so the son of Neptune character in No Peace, despite the name. But obviously, the one being disguised would be posing as a man in that case. So, and probably trying to really prove her worth and make herself stand out. So she'd probably be a pretty heroic figure among the crew, them not knowing she's a woman. So that was kind of the whole idea with that.
Trying to prove herself.
Exactly. So overachieving. So
I can see that.
So that might come as we start to do, because one of the things we want to do with some of these new sculpts is do models for some of these different characters, and that would be one of those. So.
Oak and Iron 1.2 rules. Paul K is asking that. Like new version rules?
Yep. So I talked about that earlier. So probably gonna be pushed back into the fall, just because we have not had the time to test it that we need, and I kind of need to be able to just sit down and focus on that for a bit. I played it a bit and I found some issues, so I want to make sure it gets a good rundown and tweak before it gets put out.
Dan Carson is like asking for female pirates who are as toothless as the men and as filthy. I think they would look like men because of all the issues that would have, like decaying tooth and all that stuff.
We talked about loose ships, Rook and Iron. It is happening. In fact, most of our releases going forward for Rook and Iron are probably going to be individual ships, because we're now able to make them ourselves once we get all our new equipment, which we talked about in the beginning of the video. So We'll go, if anybody who came in late and wants to go back and watch the rest, we talk about some of the new equipment we're getting that's going to allow us to create our own thermocast plastic miniatures in-house to let us make things such as oak and iron chips. So that is coming.
Yeah. I'm reading Granny Nanny in Racer. Is that the Jamaican?
Yes.
Yes. Queen
is Joseph? Queen? It's probably Joseph Forrest who's talking about.
Tyler Stone.
Oh, Tyler.
Yeah, Stone. She's a super interesting character.
She is very interesting.
Actually, we do have in the Buccaneer, we have like a miniature that if you guys find some, I found some really cool Jamaican female paintings. And then if you need like a color guide for that, just search for that on Google and you find like a really good guide to paint that character. The African, Jamaican, whatever, looking Buccaneer.
Just technically would be Haitian, I guess, but yeah.
Haitian, Jamaican, but she was wearing the same. I think Ian, when he did the illustration for that skull, he actually looked at those paintings. He had to look at those paintings.
I'm sure he did.
They look amazing. Mm-hmm. If you search Jamaican women and the 17th century painting, you'll find the paintings. They are amazing. Those are the ones that I used for guys when I was painting that miniature.
Yeah, and those are great minis. Those are some of the better ones.
You can use that model for Queen Nanny. I think maybe.
She didn't fight though.
Doesn't matter.
Well, the other one, I guess you could. Yeah. We do plan on a model for her though when the time comes. So, lots of characters in Raise the Black because Raise the Black was all hard plastic. Doing individual captains was not really in the cards. So, a lot of the characters and leaders in there that will get future things and supplements and stuff will appear later as new models. So some of the new releases that are coming up, such as Granny. Of course, you got to do her. She's literally legendary. So
yeah,
not just figuratively like some of our other legendaries.
Not enough. What a legendary model! Oh, we need a legendary model for Queen Nanny, says Joseph Forster. Not enough knives around her waist, hidden in the dress. So it means that
yeah. I already. That's just Joseph Forster being snarky with me. So, Eric Fleming asks, question about war stories. Any idea about other kinds of war stories? Rules for the crew of a Gato-class submarine in the Pacific Theater. Rules for Spitfire Squadron during the Blitz, etc. Yes. So, we have a lot of plans to expand. Expand the war stories. There's I know Gabe and Alex are already kind of going over some ideas. I know the Pacific is a big one for them. They want to cover the Pacific Theater. They've definitely talked about fighters, naval things like submarines. So I think that could definitely be a really exciting aspect of it. I could definitely see myself getting into something like the submarines, like that kind of.
I mean, like an entire run in a submarine. That would be really cool. It's like being on a spaceship.
You're blind in a submarine anyway, basically, right? So it kind of works for the whole role playing aspect. That's pretty cool. I think that's I hadn't thought about that specifically, but I'm sure that they've thought about it. And in fact, I think planes, if I remember right, are in. I think you can play fighters. I think you can play a fighter. Yeah. I think you can do a bomber squadron too, can't you?
I think so. Yeah.
In war stories right now, yeah, I think that's already covered. There's a lot you can do in there already.
For sure,
kind of lost track at this point. There's so many things.
Stuff, so.
Yeah.
Tanks definitely. Yeah, you can definitely do tanks. I know that's in there.
Alex says no fighters.
No fighters. Okay. So maybe I envision that.
Thank you, Alex.
It's coming eventually. I know it's been thought about.
Just tanks.
But honestly, it's not hard to do, especially in the context of role playing. If you wanted to add it in yourself, and we will do something official for it.
War Stories is mostly covering the Western Front.
Yeah,
and
pretty much post Normandy, Western Front. Yeah, I think there's some Italian stuff in there as well. But yeah, it's I think mostly focused on late war.
It's basically Band of Brothers, right?
Yeah, basically Band of Brothers.
Saving Private Ryan.
As an RPG. Yeah, Saving Private Ryan, that kind of thing, which is great. Those are awesome. Those are awesome films and shows, etc.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
European theater.
Right. That's the way to say it. European theater, right?
Yeah. Alex is the one that can answer these questions.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's going at it. So
yes. So if only he was here with us answering these questions instead of just typing away in the chat. But what can you do?
He's here in spirit.
No, he's literally
He's
here
in the chat.
Yeah.
Not just in spirit, but so.
Role playing Americans, British, and French. Yeah, you can role play.
I know British are in there. I don't think we do French. You could do it easily.
Yeah, you can.
But
I
don't think it's
can.
covered
Definitely.
specifically.
Yeah.
We have French, resistance fighters and everything.
I mean, when you
There's French resistance.
you
yes,
can
I know that's in
create
there.
your character, I think you can actually pick the nationality.
Yes.
I think the only one that you cannot play is the Germans.
Right now.
Yeah, right now.
So,
French resistance.
yeah, French resistance I know is in there. I don't think the French armies that doesn't exist in the late war aside from the resistance. So, I guess that makes sense. There's some you can play. I know they sent some troops somewhere. I don't remember. I don't know if they fought with the Americans.
The thing is that in the weapons chapter, you have weapons from the Americans, the UK, and France. I think, yeah. So I think you could technically just actually create a character that is the French.
Riley asked a really good question. Alex, why aren't you there in person? That's a great question, Alex. Why are you not here in person?
Hey, Riley.
So, Germans on the Eastern Front, not yet. I don't know if that's something that they want to cover or not. But obviously, that one gets a little bit dicey. But I think it just depends, and it's easy to do. If you want to do that yourself, the stuff is in there. All the stuff is covered. All the equipment is covered. That's something you want to do. You can do it.
I mean, to create a character, you can basically create character. I think you can create a character from whatever nationality. You have a pretty good guideline, and then on the weapons section, you have stats for the main countries. I think so. I mean, people when they do RPGs, they sometimes do homebrews and they alter things. Yeah. So I don't think it's going to be
RPGs issue. Definitely themselves more to that. War games do as well, but RPGs, the competitive nature of a war game compared to an RPG kind of makes that a little more skewed. Somebody can house rule something in their favor. It's not really going to be an issue with a role playing game. So it's just what the group agrees to.
And it's a historical game, so you can probably find a lot of information for a lot of that stuff, and then create your own characters or whatever.
Yep. So.
Tim says that you can be as French as you want under the black sail.
That's true. Very French. Incredibly French. You'd be Frenchier than the French are currently under the black sail.
Tyler Stone says, which nationality is going to win Summer of Plunder?
Probably the Spanish.
The English.
We should. I can't believe we haven't shouted that. I was literally thinking about it when we started, and then I didn't have time. We should shout out Summer of Plunder. It's wrapping up. Only a few weeks left, so get your submissions in. It's been super fun watching it all go down. I'm rooting for the Spanish.
I'm rooting for the Dutch.
I've played several games I haven't submitted yet.
Just because I like the minis the most.
I'm pulling up all my games to submit at the end to boost the Spanish up at the end and help them win. So that's my plan. So, and big thanks to all the guys who are coordinating that. Tales of the Sail, Blood and Pigment, all of the quartermasters and everybody else who's helping to run each nation and sending out the newsletter and prizes. I mean, the amount of stuff that these guys are doing is incredible. I'm in the chat and I'm watching them, and these guys are working hard. I mean, they're doing a lot of hard work so everybody can have a good time with the Summer of Plunder, and it's been super awesome and really fun to watch, and a lot of interesting data coming out of that as well. So, Josh Shivak, for example, is running all the Dutch guys and beating everybody with the Dutch apparently. So. Might have to ruin the Dutch just for him.
So who's winning now?
English. English
English?
English
are winning. Spanish were winning for so long, and then
I'd rather the Spanish win over the English.
Really? Wow.
I'm going to piss a lot of people.
Yes, there's definitely a lot of trash talk in that chat.
No Facebook bans, I think, this year compared to last year. So.
Yes, that's always good.
Will be Summer of Thunder in next year?
That's up to the guys who are running it right now. So hopefully, I would say yes. I'm going to hold them to that against their will. So hopefully they don't fight me on that too hard and they do another one.
Yeah. I mean, we did it last year, right?
Yeah.
We did, and the brainchild of
Joseph
Forster and the crew at the as well as Guy and Dan at the Blood and Pigment blog. Slipped my mind. And the Tales of the Sales guys. I don't know if they came up with it at the same time and wanted to do similar things or what, but I know that they all had a lot to do with it. So it was Guy's brainchild apparently.
Yeah. I just
so Guy Rourke. Thanks for that, Guy.
Overpowered Spanish. Are they really overpowered?
Yes.
We're biased then for Spanish.
Yes, they are. Go buy lots of Spanish things if you don't have them already. And everything else while you're at it. All right. So unless anybody else has any questions, I think we've kind of covered a lot. But use your last chance. Your last chance to keep us going. So if you want to jump in and ask a question, now's your time.
Well, thank you guys for tuning into the stream as well. We're hoping to do more of these, especially once Raise the Black releases and we're able to finally have our hands free and everything. Yeah. So,
fan of Enoch wants to know Oak and Iron events coming to celebrate the new stuff. I don't know what you mean by events, but there will definitely be lots of coverage. We still owe you guys an Oak and Iron how to play video, so that's coming at some point.
That
got some bandwidth.
That has been
so
in the works for like 2 years.
Yeah,
now.
we filmed it twice, and it's
only twice.
Trying to make it good, trying to make it
Blood
useful.
and Plunder PC game. Oh, I wish.
So
yeah, we're a little far from that.
Yeah,
PC.
No changes to low profile right now, but if you have any suggestions, feel free to email us with your suggestions, things you think may need changing. Post it on the Facebook group. If you're not on the Facebook groups, make sure to find us on the Facebook groups. Check out the Discord. Go to the Discord and join there. Whatever sort of social media. Pretty sure we're doing stuff on Instagram.
Yeah.
So I keep meaning to get on the Discord, and Discord is just, I'm too old.
Someone thought I was Mike because Cuban nerd, and then
not Mike Tunia, it's Cuban nerd.
Yeah. I forgot who it was. Yeah, he kept asking me questions about rules, and I'm like, I'm sorry.
Blood and Plunder PC game when we find somebody who wants to do it, but obviously we'd be all about that. Thank you guys for your awesome. What we said,
Captain
your
Bones beard. Is you, right?
If the price is right, anything is for sale. Then anything's for sale.
Well, his beards have been mystical. So
Captain Bones on Discord. That is
that's
Alec.
me.
No, it's you.
That's
me. That's
you.
you. That's him.
That's him.
I'm mysterious and a little bit. So
that's Captain Bones on Discord. Yeah. Ray. Okay, so. So the live streams, we do plan on doing more of these. So we're planning on we're trying to do at least monthly, at least once a month. Try to just keep you guys up to date with what's going on here. And it helps keep us accountable too, because we just get lots of ideas and start running around with crazy things. And so it helps us remember and look back and be like, oh yeah, remember we said we were going to do that.
Should we give it like a cool name, like Firelock Games Town Hall or something like that?
Could be something like that.
Yeah. Send us suggestions for names. Even if you don't have any social media, you can just send it to
something more pirate appropriate.
It's the quarterly stream will not be 18+. It's family friendly, so any age is okay. 1+. Joseph foreshadowed right. Any years 1 year up, 1 year old and above is okay. So that's fine. Your 1 year old might be super bored by this video though. So. But yes,
that's it, right?
All right.
I think that's it. Unless anybody has any last questions, your last chance. One more time. But so again, our sale's still going on till Monday, right?
August 22nd.
Monday. So August 22nd.
15% off.
So yeah, get your last summer plunder reinforcements in before it's too late. Get some Spanish models. Take the Spanish home. Get those wins in. So. Make sure to check out the sale. If you didn't know there was a sale, sign up for our email list. You'll know there's sales when that happens. Also, the Facebook pages, the Discord, the Instagram, all those things. Make sure to stay following us. Keep following the Kickstarter. It's coming soon. It's almost here. Can't wait to sleep again when it gets in. So I'm looking forward to that.
Import with Firelock.
That's not bad. That's pretty good.
Not...
All right. And I think we're going to go ahead and call it. So Ray, go turn off our stream, please. And thanks a lot, guys, for joining us. And we'll catch you on the next one. Feel free to email or comment with any questions. We'll try to watch this and answer any questions you may have for anybody watching afterwards. Thanks again, everyone. Take care.
Bye.